Alrighty then, this is the wrap-up video. So overall, we end up having like a 6-3 record on the challenge, which is very good for a brew here. One important thing is that we need to be more prepared to affinity. After seeing the results on the challenge, we saw that there were a lot of affinity decks. We only faced one, but it was a very common deck to play. The low missionaries were very good against Stompy, but they are amazing versus Burn, which we evaded in the challenge, so that's fine. The blue elemental blasts are needed against Gorilla Shaman, so we can't really go down on them, but maybe some red elemental blasts we can take out. So I would consider taking out one red elemental blast for another Gorilla Shaman. Also consider maybe taking the electricity out because it isn't that great against fairies either, so maybe you can just remove this and put some kind of recursion, maybe one Archaeomancer in the sideboard. I know it sounds kind of weird to have an Archaeomancer in a iTalk Fling deck, but it works in the sense that we have post-board a lot of counters that are good, a lot of removals that are good. We have Galvanic Blast and Lightning Bolt to recur with Ephemerate, so we have a lot of upside there. I don't believe it's correct to have it in the main board because it's very clunky, and it's only good with Ephemerate and Galvanic Blast in the yard or something like that, but even then it's just medium. It was amazing in the Jeskai and Ephemerate list because they had counter spells, so that you can lock people out with counter spells and Ephemerate. Here we only have Model Mixture, so that's not an option. So yeah, another option would be to add a Mortuary Mire here instead of maybe a Cave of Temptation. Since we added the Ash Barrens and the color lands, we have a lot of fixing. So for example, take white, right? We have all this fixing for white. So we have actually a crap load, right? So we have 18 sources of each color. This is the same for each color. So maybe taking out one Cave of Temptation and making that 18 into a 17 would be fine. And adding a Mortuary Mire would help us rebuy our Core Sky Fisher once they die and all that. So I believe having one piece of recursion would be good for the deck. I believe all decks right now in Pauper have some kind of recursion. For example, you see Boros Monarch with Custody Squires and Mortuary Mire, or if they don't have that, they have Ripping the Graves in the main board, so that's a very common place. Also, for example, Fairy decks have Deprive blocks with Mystic Sanctuary, so they have that kind of recursion there. So yeah, I believe we need to have that kind of out to have a recursion. We saw, for example, against Boros Monarch that we had only so many removals that we could draw. Even if we draw our entire deck, we weren't able to remove all their creatures. So I believe it has some point to have some kind of recursion there. So yeah. So I believe those are the changes I would make to the deck. There are a couple of flex slots that we could have. So yes. Then another option I may have touched upon on the deck tech is changing the bolts to some better removal. For example, if you happen to play against a lot of blue-black Delver, then having Journey Nowhere is better. If you are playing against a lot of fairy decks, then maybe Fire Ice is better. I don't know, if you play against, say, elves a lot, maybe Fork Bolt is better. So yeah, so take that into account. The only card that I believe is true to take out is Galvanic Blast in that slot. So yeah. So the problem we have with this deck is that we need to play these kind of dorky artifacts for iTalk, and we are a bit soft against Gorilla Shamans. So that's the price you have to pay to play a Jeskai Kitty deck. But yeah, I believe that if you want to make a Jeskai Ephemerate list, this is the most close you are going to have to a good list. So if you take out, for example, ATOG fling and put counter spells. This is not going to work very well, I believe. You're going to have a lot of problems, mostly closing out games. Having ATOG fling is just puts a lot of pressure on your opponent to answer that, and while they do that, you can just draw a crap load of cards. So we saw in the games also that ATOG is really good in that sense of just trading resources. You can change one chromatic star for a creature most of the time. So it, even though it looks just like a win condition, is a value creatures most of the time. Sometimes it just wins the game. So I believe it's very difficult to take it out from this build of the deck. So yeah, I believe it's fairly good list. So yeah, let me know if you have any changes you made to the deck or any questions. I'm more than happy to talk about Magic all the time. So just write in the comments if you want to.